We're all good to go? Great. Good afternoon, good morning, good day, good evening. I don't know what time zone y'all are in. I don't even know what time it is here. All jokes aside, welcome to Northwestern Virtually. We're really excited that y'all are here and tuning in and willing to listen to us a little bit. But you might be wondering who is talking to you right now. My name is Mauricio Gonzalez. I'm an assistant director of admission here at Northwestern. Well, you know, like here virtually. I also am an alum. I graduated in 2018 with my degree in psychology and a certificate in integrated marketing communications. I also, during my time at Northwestern, was able to have the privilege of working directly on many first-year initiatives. So this is a topic near and dear to my heart with some wonderful guests here today. And this is what y'all wanted, the first-year experience. So we brought it to you, but that's enough for me. I'm actually gonna pass it over to our guests and allow them to introduce themselves. Joe, would you mind going first?
Yes, I'm unmuted. Thanks, Mauricio. I'm Joe Holtgrieve. I'm one of the assistant deans in the McCormick School of Engineering. I'm also, you might see, an alum, graduated a few decades ago. I also direct an office of personal development within the engineering school, which offers courses for students across campus. So we offer courses in emotional intelligence. We teach a course on improv for engineers, and we even teach a dance class called Whole Body Thinking. And so I've been at Northwestern for about 25 years in my role, and I'm also a father of a Northwestern student and a student to be. My daughter will be joining the freshman class next year. And I just wanted to add one more thing, and that is that I'm coming to you today from the Walter P. Murphy barber chair that was actually, I thought it'd be kind of fun to do today's session. Walter P. Murphy was sitting in this chair in 1939 when he decided to give $32 million to establish the Northwestern Technological Institute, which is now McCormick. If you want to know why it's in my living room, you have to come to Northwestern. Maybe that's an incentive. Thanks, Mauricio.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. That's definitely an incentive. What a great story. I can't say that I have anything as groundworthy as that, other than my Northwestern name tag. But thanks for being here. Nancy, do you want to introduce yourself next?
Hello, everybody. My name is Nancy Cunniff, and I am the director of One Book, One Northwestern. That is the common read program that we offer at the university, where we pick a book every year, and we basically create a humanities festival surrounding the themes of the book. So this coming year, we're reading Just Mercy by Brian Stevenson. And we're really excited because it's a fantastic book. There's a lot of meaty material to talk about, and he'll be coming to campus on October 28th. This will be my 11th book, and it's really just so much fun, and it's a great connector for all of you over the summer. Most of you come, Northwestern starts a little later than the other universities, so you'll be looking for things to do, and you'll be getting an ebook in July to give you an opportunity to read the book for free, and gives you 6 months of free Amazon Prime, which is where a lot of students buy their books. So there you have it.
Awesome, Nancy. Thank you. Who doesn't like free? It's a book. Keeps you busy during the summer. You can read it again and again. I had many one book experiences, and those were great. Josh, my good friend, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, all. My name is Josh McKenzie. I work in new student and family programs. Our office really works with you from the moment you say yes to the university through the end of your first year, really just trying to help you figure out what this place is and help you get situated in your first year at Northwestern. Whether that is your first year in college, or we also work with transfer students as well. For our office and for us, certainly our largest program is Wildcat Welcome, which is our new student orientation program that happens in September. So I'm sure we'll talk maybe a little bit more about that in a moment. And unfortunately, I'm not sitting in a fun chair like Joe was. I'm so sorry. I have no more fun stories other than that, but I'm really excited to chat with y'all and hopefully hear more from you.
Thanks, Josh. And then last but not least, we also have a wonderful student with us. Aditi, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hey, everyone. My name is Aditi Rathore, and I'm currently a third-year student here at Northwestern. I'm in the Weinberg College of Arts and Sciences. I'm studying economics with a minor in political science. And during my time at Northwestern, I've been involved in various multicultural organizations. And then I also work with the same office that Josh just talked about, New Student Family Programs. And we work on different support initiatives for you all as new students when you come to Northwestern. So specifically the Peer Advisor Program, where we have current amazing student leaders who prepare to help you all in your transition during your first year at Northwestern. So again, I'm sure we'll talk about that more too.
Absolutely. And it's kind of cool, like you're continuing this amazing legacy, Aditi. Thank you for all the hard work that you do. Also to our wonderful staff members here today, but shout out to you. I was on a board of directors some time ago. So I know that you're working really hard and we're really thankful that you're here. And for our audience out there, just know that you can drop your questions below in the chat. I see that y'all are excited and have many questions already, and many of y'all are tuning in. So we'll get to those as quickly as possible, but feel free to ask those. If there are questions that we do not get to today, we'll follow up on the Admitted Student website with a PDF of the unanswered question and provide you those answers after the session. This will also live on our YouTube channel. If you haven't already, subscribe, hit that bell notification, tell your friends to subscribe, tell your family to subscribe, your cats, if they have a YouTube channel, you know we love the Wildcats. Anyone, just do it and it'll be great. But thank you so much for being here. So I'm curious to hear just a little bit more about your offices before we take a deep dive into these questions. Joe, since I sort of already picked on you and you do have that wonderful, marvelous chair that you're sitting in, do you want to tell us a little bit about how your office supports first-year students?
Absolutely. Thanks, Mauricio. So as I mentioned, I work in the undergraduate engineering office. So my population of students is primarily engineers, but I interact with students really across campus. I have a wonderful staff of colleagues that are really focused on helping students, undergraduate students while they're on campus, but also reaching out and preparing our admitted students for arriving on campus. One group of those colleagues is called the First Year Advisors, and there are 5 in McCormick. And so once you declare you're coming, you'll be assigned one of those advisors, and they'll begin reaching out to you and helping you think about what courses you want to be taking in the fall, as well as kind of other issues around acclimating and transitioning to campus. It's there's a lot of communication, a lot of open doors. We really want to help students feel comfortable with the transition to McCormick so you can be successful.
Awesome, thank you so much, Joe. I think transition is a very important time and is something that always goes on, not only during your first quarter, your first week, or however long you would consider transition. I think the nice thing about Northwestern, as already provided by Joe, is that this entire transition takes place during your entire first year, because that's sort of how it takes place. Speaking of which, I bet you both are on your toes and ready. We're getting a lot of questions, Aditi and Josh, already about Wildcat Welcome, everything along those lines. Do you sort of just want to walk us through how y'all provide support in the people way or any other ways throughout this first year experience for Northwestern students? They look like they're like battling it out. Who wants to do it?
We did battle it out for a little bit. I'm glad you didn't have to see that. I lost. So for Wildcat Welcome, at least, that is our new student orientation here at Northwestern. The really wonderful thing, I'm biased in saying this, the really wonderful thing for us is you may have friends who go to a few different institutions across the country who are required to either, whether that's physically go to campus or this summer in particular, they may be required to do that in another way, but participate in some different summer orientations where it's like usually a 2-day orientation. For us, we like to make it a little bit more effective for Northwestern, in that you come once in September right before classes start. It's a week-long program in which you'll really start to get familiar with what campus is like. You'll meet with your academic advisors. I know Joe just a minute ago was talking about first-year advisors in McCormick, but no matter what school you're in, you'll meet with your academic advisors, start to understand more about maybe what your first year academically will look like. You'll register for your courses. Earlier, you heard Aditi talk about peer advisors. So that's an upper division student who is in a similar major, similar school as you. And so they will work with you along with the other new students in your group to go through a couple of different things throughout that week. Our priority as we think about new student and family programs, really the reason we're here is to turn this place of buildings that you have seen in all of the brochures that you've seen online, that you have, especially now virtually, explored, but to turn this place of buildings into a place of people. And so how do we really help to introduce you to not only the other new students that are in the class, but also to some really wonderful support resources and services throughout that week that will help you thrive in your first year here. Because as Mauricio said earlier, yeah, it takes more than a year even to transition to a place, no matter where you are. So we want to be with you not only in the beginning, but throughout the year to really get you situated here. But those are I guess the more formal things that happen as we think about registration, advising. But there's a lot of social programming as well to get you familiar with who else you're going to be interacting with, whether that's in your residence halls, so the people that you're going to be living around, or just meeting other people who have different similar or different interests as you as well. Aditi, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. So just to build off of what Josh was talking about, a lot of that definitely rang true for me in my first year going through Wildcat Welcome. It really felt like we were there to build a community and understand like what we wanted this community to look like and feel like. And that was reflected across all of the different programming, whether it's, the logistical parts of registering for classes or becoming familiarized with the different resources and offices on campus, or getting to know my peers, and also thinking about identity and how my past experiences will carry into my journey at Northwestern. And just hearing from everyone's different backgrounds was a really crucial part to like setting that foundation. So since we do have the benefit of having all of our programming over the course of the week instead of like 2 or 3 days, I really felt ready for classes on that first day. So even just walking into a somewhat big lecture hall and recognizing faces already from folks that I had met, either through the similar peer advising group or in my residence hall, made all the difference in how comfortable I felt, especially as someone coming from like a pretty small, tight-knit school where everyone kind of knew everyone. That really made all the difference for me and made me feel more comfortable. My peer advisor, again, she played a really crucial role throughout my whole year at Northwestern. So whenever I had questions about how to, sign up for tutoring for math classes that I was struggling in, or different opportunities on campus, or just like little logistical things like how does our campus shuttle system work, I would definitely text her, and within like minutes or an hour, like she would respond right away with really helpful advice. So just knowing that someone was always there for me to help me through that process was really amazing and made me feel really supported.
That makes my heart so happy. Do you want to go and add to that, Joe? It looks like you're enthusiastic about something to share.
I just wanted to reiterate how important the peer advisors are. And in the engineering school, for instance, my colleagues, Heather Bacon and Jen Henry, really do a wonderful job selecting fantastic students and training those students to be available to our admitted students really all summer long and into the first year. I think, as Aditi mentioned, even in schools that don't have in McCormick, we actually have a formal first-year experience program that's run by the peer advisors that goes through the fall and winter. But even schools that don't have that formal of a curriculum and a relationship, those peer advisors really stay active resources and mentors for our first-year students. It's really a great resource.
Absolutely. Thanks, Joe. And I couldn't agree more. I mean, again, I'm a little biased. I was a peer advisor myself back in the day, Josh knows. And I worked very closely with our New Student Family Programs Office and a lot of other first-year initiatives. But I think just to tie it all up, like what y'all have been sharing, I completely echo that. And I think one of the most unique parts about Northwestern, and my favorite part, I know some of y'all are still trying to make your decision whether you should come to this wonderful place. Hint, you should if you can. It's really the people and the support that these staff members that are joining us today, these student representatives joining us today, and our wonderful peer advisors provide that makes Northwestern such a special place and one that is really a community. Speaking of community, Nancy, do you want to talk a little bit more? You mentioned that there are some planned events coming in the fall regarding the One Book experience, but I know from my own student experiences that y'all put on some great programming and some other initiatives throughout the entire first year for first year and transfer students. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that and what your office does to keep that momentum alive and bring the community together?
Here we go. Sure, I'd love to. So like I said earlier, we pick a book that we do programming throughout the academic year, which is different than the other institutions. Very often, they might have the author come and they'll do something in the fall, but we do programming literally throughout the academic year. And I don't even know if you'll be able to see this, but this is just the calendar of events from last year, just for the fall quarter. So we end up doing about 90 programs, which sounds outrageous, and it is. We don't create all that programming, but a big part of what One Book tries to do is leverage events that are happening in different academic units, and we kind of provide an umbrella. So we have not only the undergraduate community, but the graduate community participates in our programming. And we understand that not everybody's going to love everything. So we sponsor films, plays, we go off campus and either visit museums. One year, I hate to even mention this, but we did take the whole first class to see Hamilton because of the book we were doing that year. Just Mercy isn't going to fit in that category. Plus Hamilton isn't even here anymore. But I mean, we've done, we did a powwow at the Field Museum when we did the Inconvenient Indian. This year we were studying Hidden Figures. We had a bunch of people from Nassau come to campus, which was really exciting. We got to see moon rocks, which whoever gets to see that. We have a fantastic observatory where they open their doors for special programming for us. So every year is different because the book is different. And we often will have an art project. We have dinners where we ask scholars on campus to come talk about their work as it connects with the book, where people, we call them the Ditmar dinners. People come, they sit down at random tables, and you'll hear some information about what a faculty member will give a presentation, and then you'll have a chance to talk with the people in a much smaller setting at your tables. And it's just really nice. It's very relaxing. You get to break bread with people. Faculty show up, graduate students, undergraduates, even people from the public. And you just get such a rich conversation because you have people from all different backgrounds and experiences. And so we really try to connect the community in every way we can. As you may or may not know, Northwestern has 2 campuses. So there's a Chicago campus where more of the med school and the law school continuing education is located there. And they do programming as well, which you are absolutely, everything we do, unless it's stated otherwise, is free. And so those excursions that we take into the city where we want you to get off campus, we get underwriting to take you on those experiences. So it's a great way to tap in and learn something new. You'll get to not only explore all over our campus, but also outside the campus, meet people that are partners with us in many ways. This one of the programs that's relatively new at Northwestern is a prison education program that's at Stateville Prison, where One Book has had the opportunity to host book group discussions for the past 3 years there, where we've taken students into the prison system and worked with the students within the Stateville Prison. And I have to say, it's just a magnificent experience to meet that population and hear from them. And again, so we try to give you a very full, rich experience. It's a great community builder. We host an essay writing contest. The actual One Book website for Just Mercy won't go live until July 1st. We still have Hidden Figures information on the website, although the banner I did change right now so you can see Just Mercy listed there. But we'll have a prompt for you to write an essay. If you submit an essay, it will be read, and the winners will be announced at the keynote with the author. You'll get to meet the author. You'll get to have dinner at the president's house and win $500. So it's quite a lot that, if you, as I said, you'll probably be home waiting to go off to college, because so many peer institutions start so much earlier than we do. And so it will give you an opportunity to write something if you like. And also, I think over the summer, we do programming on campus, more down on the Chicago campus. But I think given this Zoom format that everybody's gotten to be very familiar and comfortable with, I think we'll be offering some book discussions over the summer where you'll get to, come in, and we'll separate people into smaller groups. If we have a big group, so you can really have a substantive conversation. So it's really a fun program. You don't get any credit for going to anything. It's just because you find it interesting and fun. And typically, if you've gone to one event, you'll want to go to more. And as I said, we try to, understand that everybody's coming at topics from a different knowledge base, but also an interest level. So we try to really cover the gamut. We're going to find a way to connect you. You can't say you didn't find anything on the calendar that was interesting, because we do it all. So I hope you'll participate. I'll hope you'll read the book. Maybe some of you saw the film. It came out in January, but it's such a compelling story, and it's a great book to discuss. And with everything going on in the country right now with the pandemic and what's happening in different prison systems, there's a lot to talk about.
Absolutely. And thank you for that very enriching and thorough explanation. I honestly didn't know that there were so many cool things that One Book did. And I feel ashamed. I'm sorry. I didn't know even during my first, second, third, fourth year at Northwestern.
Well,
I do remember going to go see Hamilton for free because I was on the board of directors that year. So that was a wonderful experience, and going to the Field Museum as well. So lots of fun ways to engage with the city, lots of fun ways to engage on campus, and many, many fun ways to engage virtually as well. Speaking of which, and since you brought this up, Nancy, I do want to address this. As understandably so, we're getting a lot of questions regarding the possibility of not being on campus next fall. Is that a thing? What's going on with addressing that, and how can that affect the first year experience? To put it shortly, we are still, as y'all have many questions, and we are continuing to pursue paths that will ensure our dream, as our president Morton Shapiro said yesterday in addressing your family members is for y'all to be here on campus in the fall. As of right now, that is what the university is working towards. However, as this pandemic is evolving, we also are evolving to ensure the safety of everyone, the security of everyone. And to put it shortly, we don't have an answer for that yet. But as Nancy has already pointed out, many offices on campus are working on really great programming, whether that's on campus, virtually, everything along those lines, to be able to support y'all throughout the first year experience. That being said, we just also put our Northwestern COVID-19 website in case you want to receive any updates regarding what the university is doing in relation to COVID-19. I just also want to open it up if in case there's anything else that y'all wanted to add in relation to that. Obviously, we don't know is the long story short. We're working really hard to provide a really great first year experience for y'all, but the simple answer is we'll keep you posted once we have updates. Is there anything to add? Great. Awesome.
I'll just
yeah, Joe, go ahead.
As someone who I'm teaching 2 classes this quarter, and it's actually been going very well. I've been very pleased, although it's an adjustment. I'm also on a lot of meetings with colleagues from all the different schools, and as Mauricio has said, I mean, we would love to have everyone on campus. We all miss being physically back on campus and around one another, but we're certainly not going to do that if it's not safe. But we've got a lot of time between now and September, and that's one benefit that we have being a school that starts later than most schools. And there can be a lot of advancements, technological advancements, scientific advancements. So we don't know, but we certainly hope it's going to work out so that we can. And there's different versions of what that looks like. Being back on campus, but then social distancing. We still all have to figure out what that means.
Absolutely. Thanks, Joe. And then Aditi, I see that you're enthusiastic about providing some more insights. Go for it.
Yeah, I just wanted to share some perspective as like a current student, since we are doing a remote virtual learning quarter this spring. And I've just been so positively surprised by how quickly everyone has banded together to think about how, we can still function as a community, even when we're not physically together on campus. So whether it's like academic support and resources or other support for wellness, I always get a lot of emails like, oh, we're still here for you. Here's how you can engage with us. And here are the services that we're still providing to you all as students. There's still a lot of like social programming too, like different like student orgs. I've done different like trivia things. So it's been nice to like still stay engaged with my peers and still have that sense of community. So if that is any reassurance to you all that Northwestern is a place that will work to support you in whichever setting we end up in.
Yeah, I could not agree more. We're working really hard every day to be able to do this great programming. We're evolving to be able to provide the experience that we want to provide. And I'm glad you're having such a positive experience, Aditi. Speaking of activities, I don't think that was a good segue, I apologize, but we were already talking about activities. Okay, so Nancy discussed a little bit about her programming. Joe teaches these wonderful classes, and there's PRDD for students in the McKenzie School of Engineering. Taking it back a little bit, when students first arrive on campus, in a normal year, in a traditional year, best case scenario, what are some activities that take place during Wildcat Welcome, whether those are social, any other programmatic things that take place? It's a really fun and exciting time. So who wants to go first and address some things? Y'all are looking at each other again. Josh, go for it.
I know. Yeah, I think we have a good platter, I guess that's a saying, right? Of different programs, activities that happen throughout Wildcat Welcome, some traditions based and some are just like, yeah, these are really fun things to do in order to connect with some other people and really starting to get to know each other. A lot of y'all have, for those, especially if you're early decision students that are watching right now, you've been in some of our kind of virtual spaces since December, already getting to know people in the class. And so those virtual spaces that we host throughout the year and throughout the summer especially are really great jump starters in getting to know people. And then once we get into Wildcat Welcome, the activities that we have are just really great ways to kind of physically starting to cement that community that you've already started building. Some of those activities though, programs, one of the I guess biggest, the most one that people talk about as a tradition at Northwestern is March Through the Arch. It happens the day after you move on campus. If your families are bringing you to campus at all, they may stick around and watch from the sidelines, but it's a kind of ceremonial marching through our Weber Arch, which if you have been to campus or have seen any photos ever of Northwestern, you have probably seen this arch in Deering, which is our Hogwarts looking library. But march through the arch with the entire incoming class and getting to hear from a few people to really start out your time at Northwestern. I think that's one of the ones that students, really the entire community really looks forward to every single year. So that's one. As we think also about usually like the first football game, I know a lot of people talk about one of the reasons that they really are drawn to Northwestern or even choose Northwestern is that it offers all of these different facets of collegiate life, one of them being a Big Ten sports. Football is one of those sports that we offer on campus. And so a first football game is usually also a highlight, something that we host specifically for new students, usually during or right around Wildcat Welcome, is the New Student Dash. And so it's a time where the entire incoming class is able to dash across the field, Ryan Field, right before the first game in which everyone is at home for. And so that's usually a really exciting time as well. Some good photo ops too, in being able to dash across. But even like throughout the week, there's a lot of smaller social programs. Not everyone is really wanting to go to an event where there's 2,000 people. And so even events that are residence based and getting to like meet, whether it's other students that are living within your residence or even if the faculty maybe who lives in residence for your building or for your area. So it may be different ice cream socials or kind of movie nights or whatnot. But we also have let's say like a cappella fest that usually happens during Wildcat Welcome, in which a bunch of the student organizations or student a cappella groups come and do performances. The same thing happens with our student dance groups or our student comedy groups as well, that do some entertainment pieces throughout that week. Aditi, what is it that you look most forward to that I haven't mentioned yet?
Yeah, I think my favorite aspect of Wildcat Welcome is how new students are able to engage with the Northwestern community on so many different levels. So I think you kind of touched on that when you described the different programming, but really underlying that is, you get to go to some of those big events and those big traditions with the entire new student class, which is like thousands of people. And then at the same time, there are also opportunities to engage in smaller communities like Josh was talking about, whether that's in your residence, whether those are identity-based spaces. So for me as a student of color, there was programming for me to interact with other students in that space, both new students and older students and staff members. Also faith-based communities, space for LGBTQ+ students. So lots of different programming for anything that you're really looking for. There's also, I know a lot of that sounds really overwhelming, but we do make sure that there's space for you to just decompress and relax and be a person and a human in your room, whether that's like taking a nap or taking care of whatever you need to do. So there are a lot of opportunities, but again, the idea is really for you to just feel like you are a part of this community, which you are. And that's really what the whole week is all about.
Absolutely. And I miss it all the time. And I'm glad that it's still going on. And there's still things that to look forward to. And I think, again, just that community support is super, super great. I remember when I came to Northwestern a long time ago, like 6 years ago now, it was a great experience to just have all of our alumni come back and family members and staff members cheering on at March of the Arch, having that support continue on from my own peer advisors during the first year experience and beyond. And it truly is that social programming that is just like the spark of everything happening. But of course, that's just 1 week, and there's so much more that our different schools at Northwestern and new student family programs and other offices on campus do to be able to continue on with that connection aspect of it. Speaking of which, taking a quick step back, this is more of a broad question. We're getting questions about our wonderful peer advisors and academic advisors. So Joe, this is probably also somewhere we can step in. How easy is it for incoming first year students to meet with, one student phrased it as their Mohammed as their counselors. So I might expand this to academic advisors and peer advisors. So who wants to first address what Mohammed is curious about? Yeah, Joe.
I'll try. Yeah. I mentioned that once you commit to Northwestern, you begin, you actually get paired with your first year academic advisor. You have your peer advisors are assigned. You begin communicating with them all summer. And then when you arrive, in addition to the activities that Josh and Aditi have been talking about in New Student Week, you're also meeting the school, you're hearing from the dean, you're meeting with your advisors to finalize your advising your curriculum for the fall quarter, and then you're registering. And all that takes place also during New Student Week. And then throughout the year, you meet with your first year advisor. I mentioned that they're clinical faculty. They do teach, but their primary responsibility is first year advising. And so they have kind of a wealth of experience and expertise in helping students make that transition from high school to college, helping you kind of decide, if you're trying to decide between majors. I think that's another thing that is quite, I would say, unique about Northwestern, is one of our core principles, and this was something that was decided years ago by the Board of Trustees and the president at the time. We wanted flexibility to be a core principle of the university, to be able to move between programs without unnecessary barriers. And so students don't have to know exactly what major they want to study when they arrive. There's a lot of flexibility. You can begin, and I can speak specifically for McCormick, where the curriculum was a little bit more regimented. Our first year curriculum is pretty common across most of the majors, so you don't have to know specifically exactly what you want to do for the rest of your life. And if you start along a path and decide you want to change, it's not that hard to do, even switching schools. So that first year, you're going to begin each quarter. You're going to meet with an advisor to talk about midway through the quarter, to talk about the next quarter and begin selecting courses. There's, as I mentioned, in McCormick, we have a more formalized first year experience. Mauricio mentioned PRDV, which is actually an acronym for, it's the prefix for courses that are taught under the Office of Personal Development, which is the office that I direct in McCormick. And so the first year experience courses are PRDV courses, and all first year students will meet with their peer advisor, and periodically their advisors will come and talk about like different issues like choosing majors or other issues around transitioning successfully to college, studying time management, those types of things. And that goes pretty formally in the fall and in the winter. And then we've developed other curriculum that we want to be adding to that spring quarter to help students be successful within McCormick and really across the campus. So there's a lot of opportunities for students to connect formally and informally with their academic advisors, as well as their peer advisors. And even once you start to, as you get towards the end of your first year, and whether you came in knowing exactly what you wanted to do and that persisted, or whether you came in with a couple of different ideas and now you start to it comes into focus by the end of that first year, that's when you begin to transition to your department advisors in McCormick. And I would say it's similar in other schools as well, I would imagine. And then you switch from that first year advisor to a department advisor. And there's also, depending on your department, there's a whole nother suite of faculty and staff that are there to help you make that adjustment as well and be successful.
I think one of the, Joe, I think touched on a lot of really helpful pieces, especially as we think about access to our academic advisors and ultimately how you get help in navigating this place from especially an academic standpoint. One of the things that's really helpful, even going into your first year, before you get here, there's going to be so much that you're thinking about, and also a lot of question of, am I even thinking about the right things to ask about? And what we do biased, but one of the things that we do really well is setting up for you what it is that you need to be thinking about and navigating starting in like 2 weeks. So from the beginning of May through the time that you get here for September, there is a suite of communication and a master checklist that you'll receive that really helps to walk through not only here are the items and tasks that you have to do over the summer, but here's how you, as you think about academic advisors or thinking about starting to look at classes, this is how you will do that, and this is when you will do that as well. Each school, each of our 6 undergraduate schools, as Joe was referencing, is slightly different depending on a lot of things. And one of those is when and how you engage with your advisor, but certainly across all schools, there's some initial pieces that happen towards the end of the summer, usually in the back half of the summer on that in that realm. But within this communication that we'll be sending out, so it's a purple prep is what we call it, but there's a master personalized checklist that you receive in there. It pulls up, so if you are in McCormick or if you're in CESP or School of Education and Social Policy, it'll automatically pick up when you log in. You're in CESP, and so here's the whole suite of items that you'll need to complete. And so it may say, well, you're going to be chatting with your academic advisor in August. So that's when you can expect to first start engaging with them. But regardless of school, and if you even chat with them over the summer, you absolutely will be seeing them in some way, shape, form, or fashion during Wildcat Welcome before you start solidifying what your courses look like. I absolutely know, and a question I know we usually get is, usually in maybe June or July, as your friends are starting to solidify their own fall schedules, especially those that are on the semester system and doing orientations over the summer, they're like already starting to choose their classes. And so you kind of get a little bit of anxiety in terms of, shouldn't I know this too? Why don't I know this yet? Why haven't I already chosen my classes? Why haven't I met with my advisor? Those pieces will come. It's all laid out in chronological order in this purple prep piece that you'll get and when you'll start engaging with them. So it feels like it's a little late, but engaging with your advisor at the end of towards the end of the summer, and then during Wildcat Welcome, really for the first time, is how you get set up. And they'll prove, as Joe was talking about, to be a really wonderful resource, not only to get your fall quarter set up, but as you progress then through your first year. Aditi, I think you had something you want to add in as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to build off of those points and just share my own experiences with my advisor during my first year and my peer advisor and how those kind of connected. So I love my first year advisor. She's someone that I still keep in touch with. And I've had her as a professor as well. So I think that really helped our relationship. And, you know, throughout the summer and in the fall, she was really great about opening up that line of communication with me. And more than just, you know, in terms of registering for classes in the fall, she really took the time to get to know me, to get to know what some of my initial goals were or worries were about my first year, to make sure that I felt balanced about everything, all the choices that I was making. So not just like my course load, but also maybe some of the other pieces of student life that were outside of that. So that was really helpful just to know I had someone who like actually cared about me. And then my peer advisor, they actually tag teamed a lot, especially in the first few weeks of fall quarter. So my peer advisor, she was really great about giving some of the student perspective behind classes. So just hearing from her own experiences about, especially in Weinberg, where you have so many different academic paths that you could pursue, how she found her major and her minor in different classes, like really interesting classes that she explored, which really broadened my perspective as to what was out there for me, instead of just thinking about like, oh, this is my major, so I'm only going to take classes in this area. So that was really helpful. And then, of course, the peer advisor also extends beyond that. So she was also there in terms of other aspects of student life, thinking about like wellness support. I wanted to get involved, like how could I get involved on campus, whether it's like different student orgs, or just thinking about how I wanted to spend my time here at Northwestern. So definitely their reach is broader than what you might think initially. So really take advantage of that, because all the different support systems have really valuable pieces to add. So it's all about how it all comes together.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of my important things. Wow, I am still, my brain, I apologize everyone, but I think that's the thing that I found most valuable is those constant check-ins and the individualization that our peer advisors and academic advisors and first-year advisors and all these advisors do to get to know Northwestern students. Because I'm seeing like a very common question, and I'll just address this offhandedly, and Aditi and Josh and Joe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but peer advisor groups, in my experience, were organized by your undergraduate school. So all students in Medill will have different Medill peer advisor groups. The size of these groups varies by a little bit. It's about, I want to say 10 or 12 on average if you do the quick math of students in each peer advising group, something along those lines. They're giving me eyes, they're like, I don't know about that. Josh, go for it, because I could be wrong.
No, yeah, I think you're on the right track. You remembered from a decade ago when you were doing it. So your peer advisor group is absolutely centered around your academic concentration for the most part. And you're right, groups really range from anywhere from 10 students up to 15 or 16 students. You'll learn for the first time, we'll be sending out assignment who your PA is in July or early August. It varies a little bit. School by school, and you'll see more about that in Purple Prep. But that's the first time you'll start chatting virtually with your PA, who's going to be a rising second, third, or fourth year in that school that you're in. They may have a different major, but they'll have some similarity, at least by the school that they're in.
Great. I'm glad that even though I attended Northwestern a decade ago and helped out with
You're
y'all
welcome for that, Mauricio.
Yeah, thanks. I got it somewhat correctly, but yeah, it's really helpful. I always think back, this is a very cheesy way to put it, but that's just the person that I am. But I see and saw my peer advisors as sort of your first friends at Northwestern. And this is my experience, in my opinion, like your older sibling kind of ish at Northwestern. Josh is giving me like I don't know about that, and Aditi's laughing at me, but that's at least how I saw it, especially for me, like as a first generation college student, I relied a lot on my peer advisors, and it was a great experience to have these folks who, although maybe different from you, are really prepared to help you find the specific resources that will best set you up for success at Northwestern. Or, you know, if you're like, I want to be an a cappella singer, which of the 14 a cappella groups should I join at Northwestern? And they'll provide you with a list or something. I didn't sing and I can't sing. That was just an example. I don't know why I thought of a cappella, but that's just something that Northwestern students really do well in being able to help you feel supported in the way that you want to be supported. So they're there for you as much as you'd like to have them. Anything that anyone else wants to add? Joe, I see you're enthusiastic.
Yeah, I just want to, I guess, highlight that I think peer advisors is a good example of how Northwestern is a very decentralized university. We have 6 colleges that offer undergraduate degrees on the Evanston campus, but we also are very collaborative. And so, so you're right in that the schools are the ones that manage the process of interviewing and selecting peer advisors for the incoming class. So the McCormick students have McCormick peer advisors, but that whole process is also directly collaborated with Josh and his team. We do a lot of communication and collaboration. It is a very collaborative environment, even though we are very decentralized. You're admitted to your school, so you're coming into Northwestern, but you're also coming in as a McCormick student. So I think it's one of the things that I think of is a benefit of a large university that has smaller colleges within it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's kind of nice to be able to have these different touch points, especially as students do interschool transfers or change their major, change their mind. Just as a word of advice, I don't think that anyone has really mentioned this today, but I've been helping manage all of these other wonderful live streams, which, by the way, if there's any topic we don't get to, it's probably already on our YouTube channel. So again, you should subscribe, go on our YouTube channel, look at these videos. You don't have to have everything figured out. That's not our expectation. And there's a lot of support throughout this entire first year experience. We're getting a little bit close to the end of our time. Look how time flies. So if there's any questions that y'all have for our wonderful guests here today, feel free to drop it in our YouTube chat here. You can also see that I'm a little chatting away with y'all in a little text box. So that's what I'm doing off camera. But one question that I will ask everyone, for those who would like to answer, is what is one of your favorite aspects of working with first year students at Northwestern? And or what makes Joe, you've already chatted a little bit about this, and I believe this has been addressed multiple times throughout today, but as students are really thinking about deciding whether to come and join our awesome community, what is something that you feel Northwestern does really well to uniquely support first year / transfer students? I'll let y'all think about that a little bit. And what I'll do is I'll chat a little bit more as y'all think. And I think it really is the people. I mean, I really only attended Northwestern and have only worked at Northwestern throughout my life as a higher education professional and former student. But it really is the unique eclecticness that each student brings in their multiple areas of study and their multiple facets of study or anything along those lines. And being able to provide the support that really is unique, and teaching fun classes like Joe does. And he looks excited as usual, which I'm happy about. So Joe, take it away.
Sure, Mauricio. You're right. I have kind of mentioned this a couple of times, but I would put it maybe a slightly different way. I think the most fun I have in working with and engaging with first year students is just how bright and how diverse their interests are when they arrive. I think some of that, again, I'm working primarily with engineering students, and in McCormick, we put a lot of emphasis on whole brain thinking. And so I think we naturally attract students that have this rich interest in, they're interested in math and science and engineering topics, but they're also musicians, or they're also entrepreneurs, or they're also thespians, improvisers, maybe not yet. By the way, improvising, the improv class is actually one of the classes we're teaching remotely, which has been a really interesting experience, and it's going great. So don't be afraid. They also, I think, so they're coming in with all of these interesting experiences. And so one of the ways when I talk to prospective students and I talk about the value of Northwestern education, yes, being on campus, being with faculty, being in the classroom, those are all extremely important experiences. But collaborating, talking to one another, working with your fellow students is probably one of the most valuable aspects of a Northwestern education, because those are the relationships that you're going to carry with you for the rest of your lives, both professionally and personally. And so it's really about the quality of the students and their creativity and how they have wonderful ideas that they don't even know aren't practical until they actually make them happen. So I love the energy. I love the creativity and intelligence of our students.
Yep. That's all I have to say. I mean, one of my best friends graduated from McCormick, and she and I chat all the time. And I think that's one of the greatest things is like what a student asked a little bit earlier, how much students from the different schools interact with one another. And I would say pretty much all the time you take classes with folks, even if they're engineering students or if they're in their school of music or they're sociology majors, anything along those lines. And I can say that like, it's been an awesome experience getting to hear about their experiences, of course, with their individual schools, but also beyond life and how Northwestern has brought us all together. Anything else that wants to be shared? Yeah, Nancy.
So just a couple things. I mean, I didn't say this in my intro, but I have 4 kids who have all graduated, not from Northwestern, but from different institutions. And from a parent perspective, I have to say that from Wildcat Welcome all the way through, the amount of attention the student body gets from the faculty, administrators, and so on is really amazing to me. Yeah, kind of, especially that Wildcat Welcome. I mean, that the amount of activities and having the ability to kind of gel with the smaller group of students that you may not be in the same dorms with. But, you know, I have students that work for me. I have fellows and ambassadors that work and help me run the One Book program. And I would say that the feedback I've gotten from them is, you know, to be a transfer student, I think is a really brave thing to realize you're just not happy where you are and to make a change. And so many of the transfer students cannot believe how welcoming the university has been, and the adjustment has been pretty seamless, which I find amazing. And again, the first year students, just the different structures that they've created to try to make people feel comfortable and welcome and finding their space. And because the book that we choose is different every year and the topics we choose are different. I mean, Joe and I have worked together many times, but I mean, I know faculty and staff from across both campuses, and it's really fun to see people come and enjoy the different lectures or activities, take risks. We've been doing storytelling where it's set up, it's a moth-like storytelling event that we've done for the past 3 years, which has been really exciting. And we do it as an intergenerational activity. So students they tell their stories, and we have some older students, I mean, really older students come and tell stories. And it's really just great to see that exchange between the 2 different groups and listening to people's stories. And like I said, we've done so many different activities where people get to meet people in a way that they wouldn't typically, which I think is really exciting. So that's all.
Awesome. Yeah, Josh.
Sorry. Yeah, I'll just add quickly. I know Aditi had to jump off. She had to run to class. But I think one of the things, it really echoes what everyone has really talked about. But I think the reason that, you know, I'm here, people like Aditi, you know, are students that are really working closely even with us and, you know, with all of our schools, is helping you find what Northwestern is going to be for you, and what you can get out of this place. So many of y'all have like congrats certainly for getting into Northwestern, but if you're anything like me and so many other students, you may at some point question, did Northwestern like mess up by saying yes to me? You know, is this place, am I good enough for this place? And I think that's really where myself and a lot of the people that we work with, you know, PAs that we've talked about, whatnot, I think that that has really been, I think, some of the most useful and helpful work that we do, is really helping you again connect to the people here, and helping to provide some really great support structures and support systems for you, so that you can find what Northwestern is, and the journey that this place will be for you, because it's uniquely yours, and you're going to be setting that up, and we'll help you set that up for you. But everyone can have a completely and different Northwestern experience. So getting to work with students from the very get-go is why I really love what I get to do, and getting to chat with a lot of y'all from now and through your first year is what is really exciting for me, at least.
Thanks, Josh. And yes, that is my summary. I think, first of all, on behalf of our admission office, again, congratulations. And as sort of the representative for our Office of Undergraduate Admission, I want to let you know, and even though I felt like when I was a student at Northwestern, what Josh had shared, questioning, am I good enough for this place? Maybe the office made a mistake or anything along these lines. We did not. I can promise you that we worked really hard, and it really is the individual perspective experiences that you have shared with us already. Thank you for sharing that in your application. That really, we believe, can add so greatly to our community. And our community is really special, as hopefully you've seen today, and you've seen in the past couple of weeks from our wonderful other partners across the university. But I don't think that it can become more special unless you come to campus and come to Northwestern. So I'll leave it at that. But thank you so much to everyone for sharing. And it is a little bit past 5 o'clock. We have reached our hour mark. So if there are any other questions, please feel free to drop them, and we will answer them in our PDF file attached to the admitted student website. But just some things to share with y'all. This will be one of our last programming events for y'all, and we hope we can continue providing such great quality as we have today. Thank you for being here, to our guests. And we also will have Instagram Lives, our cat chats tomorrow on Instagram, as I shared already, at Northwestern Admissions with an S at the end. Follow us on Instagram from 4 to 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, covering different topics like Chicago and Evanston, athletics on campus, and some other great topics. We will keep you updated with any other events and communications via email. Feel free to check us on those platforms. Hit subscribe, that bell notification. And if there are any other questions, please feel free to email us. In the description of this video, you can find our email address there. Have a wonderful night, day, evening. I don't know where you are, and go Cats.